Any good Mick Cronin memories from 20 years ago? Did you ever think you guys would be the coaches of UCLA and Maryland?
No. Um, no, I mean, Mick has become one of my very good friends in this business. So I have lots of stories about Mick, but none of them that I can tell you guys.
Just going off of that, just what are your thoughts on UCLA and just what makes them such a good team?
I think UCLA is starting to get they're starting to turn into, again, what his Cincinnati teams were, but with a little bit much higher talent. They're starting to become tougher. You know, the difference I've seen from the games in Vegas to now, they're rebounding at a higher level. They're defending at a higher level. I think Vasquez is as good a player of college. He reminds me of McDermott when McDermott was at Creighton because he just has a motor on the offensive end that doesn't stop. So I think the biggest difference that I've seen over probably the last 3 weeks of them is the fact that they're playing much tougher, much more physical than they were earlier in the year.
And going for these last weekends, just what are your thoughts on the team's defense in the final minutes of the game? I believe against Tennessee, you guys held them about a field goal in the final 4 minutes, and Wisconsin they didn't score in the final 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think we scored a little bit better in the second halves than we have the first half the last two games, which we've been able to set up our press a little bit more, which I think has really helped us. The first halves we've struggled shooting and scoring. But I think defensively we've been pretty solid for most of the year, and I think the effort's been off the charts.
Hey, Coach, obviously with UCLA integrating into the Big Ten next year, is that a rivalry you're hoping to start, and how do you think that transition
No,
will
I
go?
mean, I'll be honest. When I got the job, Mick called, and I thought he was calling to congratulate me, and he needed a pit stop before he played Kentucky. And I'm a good friend, and so I said yes, that he can come. And we had no idea that the UCLA would be joining the Big Ten. Like that, we scheduled this game. I got hired in April, like early, like mid-April. So, for me, I respect Mick. I love the way his teams play, and it's UCLA. It's one of the best programs in the country. So to get them here was a no-brainer, and then obviously to go out west next December is obviously a no-brainer because it's 75 degrees and sunny.
And to touch on your schedule a little bit, you mentioned it a couple times, sort of hitting the worst part of it at this point, and then you guys will have that 8-day break. How are you what's that plan coming out of the break and trying to get this team better?
I think they'll and we did it today, just get back to practicing a little bit. We haven't practiced in almost real practice in consecutive days. The 9 p.m. games hurt when you travel. We didn't get back from Wisconsin until 5 a.m., so we didn't practice that day. The next day, we're getting ready for finals, so we really didn't practice. We only had one practice before Tennessee. I think the biggest thing is just kind of get them back in a rhythm where good sleep patterns, good practice patterns, get back to lifting, get back to just getting in a good rhythm, because I think that's why we were playing really well. And when you play at Louisville, Illinois home, 9 p.m., Wisconsin, 9 p.m., the 9 p.m.s hurt you. Yeah, and unfortunately, we have a lot of them. Do we really need a microphone? Okay.
Sorry. Hey, Coach. So you've talked about kind of extending, wanting to have a ninth guy in the rotation, and you started Noah to begin the second half last game. With the shooting struggles, is he someone that you can kind of see maybe getting some more minutes here?
I'll be honest with you. I'd like to get Ike and Noah both in the game, to be honest with you. It's probably the worst part of this schedule is the fact that, again, Ike's been practicing well, Noah's been practicing well. They're making really good progressions, which you hope they would. It's really hard to play 9 people in games that we've played. And they haven't had the opportunity, so it's unfair to them to kind of just chuck them out there and hope they do well. I was really heated at halftime of the Tennessee, so I was going to start a whole different 5, but I went against that because they still were playing really hard. I was just hoping Noah would go out there and make a shot.
Is part of your worry with that we're putting them out there. Kind of the same thing you said with Callum on Sunday about putting a freshman in against
Yeah, I
this
mean,
high quality.
against the number 7 team, the number 13 team, the number 16 team in the country, you can go from being up 4 to down 4 to being down 4 to down 12 real quick against teams like that. And it's also not good for their confidence and their growth to put them in a situation where they might not be successful. The good thing about early games is that you can play them without the worry of them going out and saying, man, I blew a game. That can really hurt a kid's growth. And Ike and both Noah, they're both right on the cusp of being there. I just need to get them some game time.
I was going to ask just more specifically, why exactly did you have Noah start the second half?
No, Noah hasn't. Ike's missed a lot of practice time. He's had a hip flexor, and then he had a groin, and then he had the flu. And Noah hasn't missed, and Noah's been practicing pretty well.
I guess in the context of instead of Hakeem.
I was mad at Hakeem.
Or
I don't know.
Scout.
He was the first guy that was sitting in front of me at halftime, so he kind of got it the most. I'm sure he'll be in the back row tomorrow.
I was just going to ask, with this stretch we've talked so much about, where do you feel like the players are physically and mentally right now? Is there anything you guys do as a staff just to try to make sure they're...
No, I think the really good thing, I don't think there's really anything good about the stretch. I think the good thing is that this is going to be what the Big Ten plays are like. So they're actually getting a really good taste of what league play is going to be like. 5 brutal games in a row, maybe 9 p.m. We're at Minnesota 9 p.m. We're at Michigan State 9 p.m. So we're getting a taste of what we have to do and what they're going to be part of. So I think that's a really good part. They're in a good spot. We practice for 2.5 hours a day, and they practice hard. They're in a good spot. We're the 20th ranked team in the country. We've lost 2 games by 3 points and 5 points. It's going to happen in this league and the competition we're playing.
Rich, when you talk about the early shooting struggles in the first half, what do you think is contributing to that, and what kind of adjustments are you making in terms of like shot selection or whatever in the second half that's allowing guys to heat up?
I have my thoughts. I think a lot of it, this is all a new experience for a lot of these guys. Even for Hakeem and Dante, who are now being relied on at a very high usage rate when in the past they did not have a high usage rate. Jameer, I think is, he gets a little, he's never played in the Barclays Center against the number 6 team in the country. Don's just struggling shooting, but he's the one guy I have the most confidence in shooting the basketball. So I think there's a little bit of nerves that go into it. They didn't like the basketball. That's what they said the other night. I was like, yeah, that's convenient. I have confidence in. We're getting open looks. We had 7 wide open looks against Tennessee. If you can get open looks against Tennessee, you're doing something right. We didn't make them.
Now that we're give or take about a third of the way through the season, do you anticipate that the starting lineup is kind of going to continue as is, or maybe you'll shake it up as the season goes on?
I'm not a big shake-up guy. They're playing really hard. That first unit, their plus minus in all the major games are off the charts. So I don't see any reason to shake it up because they've been extremely well connected defensively, and they've been pretty good offensively for most of the year.
I want to ask, how do you think analytics has changed the game, and maybe has it changed the way you approach coaching?
Yeah. Analytics have changed the game drastically. I think the younger generation below me lives and breathes by it. I'm still I've watched 6 UCLA basketball games, so I've watched 6 games. I've been in this business a long time. I'm gonna listen to what my eyes tell me and what I see and how I feel. I know of young coaches that have fouled because analytics tell them to foul. I can't do that. I look at KenPom numbers. I look at net rankings. I look at statistics. It helps make decisions on things. But, I was taught by one of the best in the business, and Jim O'Brien, on how to study the game. And that's the way I go about how I get my game plan, how we do our defensive game plan. If I'm going to foul, if we're up 3, am I going to foul? Am I not going to foul? It's never by statistics. It's always by, how do I feel? How do they shoot? What team is out there? I'm a little bit more old school than some of these younger guys are. And I know some of the older guys don't look at stats at all. I mean, I do. They kind of, even they look at me and think I'm new age. And I look at them and they're like, I'm more like them every day. It's just, I think basketball it's such a fast sport, and there's so many variables into it that you really have to go a lot on your instincts.
I guess the first one is, I guess kind of piggybacking on Ross's, but how did you kind of figure or find out that UCLA and USC were joining, or like kind of where were you when you saw that?
I think they announced it when we were during an evaluation period recruiting, and I think I was with Mick. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I was somewhere around Mick because I remember I saw him and we both started laughing because we thought we did this great scheduling and now it's going to be part of our conference. But I was actually with him when they announced it. I think it was a recruiting evaluation period. I'd have to go back and look at the date, but it was someplace close around there.
And I guess the other question I have is piggybacking somebody else's question, but I guess if you playing like Ike or Noah, like what criteria has to be? Yeah, criteria might not be the best word, but like score, time. I don't know what other stuff you would look at before deciding to put them in.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good question. I wouldn't say it would be score. I just think it's more. It's kind of where I go back to. I'm a little bit more old school. Just more of a feel for making sure that I think they're going to have a chance to go in and affect the game in a positive way. And I was very close to putting Ike in the first half the other night because he's starting to really practice well. He's getting in a good rhythm. So for me, it's just looking at situations where they can go in and not have really the pressure of if they make a mistake, it's going to be a costly mistake. And unfortunately, we really haven't had a game like that in a while.
With Vasquez, and you talked a bit about what he brings to the team. What's going to be important to key on with him just to have success defensively as a whole?
We're going to have to switch up our coverages. You can't play him one way. I think the most impressive thing about him is, he'll post, he'll throw it in, and then he'll kick it out, and then he'll get you on the second repost, which is really good. I think we're going to have to double him at times. I think we're going to have to play him single coverage because he is a willing passer. And Tiger Campbell is probably as good a point guard as we'll face all year. So their experience, if you look at them, they're starting to play extremely physical. They're starting to play really good defense, which really helps for the fact that then you have guys on the other end that can really get you. So for Vasquez, we're going to have to constantly switch up our coverages.
Hi, Coach. We have a bet. I'm Brandy.
Hi, Brandy. How are you?
Now. I'm good. So it's obviously the record kind of speaks for itself right now. You guys are 8-2, doing really well. Your first year here. How successful has it been for you establishing your own culture here with your team?
Ask that question one more time.
Like how successful do you think you've been with establishing the way you run things and running your program, and how have the players responded? I know the record speaks for itself.
No, I mean, I think even if we were 2-8, I would think the way they're playing would speak is technically how I would think we've been successful. I think everyone that has come watch them practice, everyone that have watched them play, really for the first 10 games, I think the biggest compliment that I can get is that, everyone's so impressed at how hard they're playing, how together they are. I think that speaks to what we've done as a staff with our culture, and what we're trying to bring here. So I think from that standpoint, I think the players have kind of, the way they've played has been really fun to watch. I think the fans have really gotten behind it. So for me, that's success.
And getting ready for UCLA, you guys lost 2 straight right now. Is there any pressure, do you think, the players have put maybe on themselves? I know there's a lot of games left.
No, I mean, I think we're in good shape no matter what. Win or lose, I think that's a great thing about playing these games. We've learned a tremendous amount about ourselves. The only negative of the schedule is we haven't had a whole lot of time to work on the things that we've learned. So we're kind of trying to do it on the fly, and we're not doing it overly well. But win or lose, I think we're in a great spot going forward in conference play. You know, it in this league, it's really going to come down to how well you do in the conference. It's just because the league is a monster. So I think we're in a great spot no matter what. They have no pressure. We're looking forward to a great home crowd. At least I'm not feeling any pressure. They're not. If I'm not feeling it, then they're not feeling it, because that's usually the way it goes. All right. Thank you, everybody.